So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. Super excited to be joined by an amazingly talented actress in the
Oh,
form of Zoë Henry. Zoe, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for having me on. What an absolute pleasure.
No, it's my pleasure completely. And I mean, I was just sort of having a bit of a look through kind of what you've worked on over the years because you've had quite an amazing career. I mean, just gonna sort of, tease people with some of the highlights. I mean, you were in the first episode of Cold Feet, which that's amazing.
Yeah, it was actually the pilot.
I mean, we'll talk a bit about that because what was that like to be a part of that? I mean, I imagine you didn't realize what a big show it was going to go on to become.
Absolutely no idea. And of course, the six main brilliant actors were largely unknown at that point as well. To be fair, my overriding memory is one of absolute fear because it was my first job. It wasn't the first job I got, it was the first job I did. And the first job I got was 6 episodes of Corrie, playing Log, amusingly named, who was there to be Spider's girlfriend who turned up out of the woodwork. But yeah, and then I quit off the quick back of that very quickly got this pilot, Cold Feet, and ended up shooting that first, and was so nervous because all I'd done was theatre. And everything we'd done at college, because I went to Man Met in Manchester, obviously. Yeah, I was terrified. I don't remember anything other than complete blind fear. That's it,
I mean,
sadly.
look, I'll just mention a few more little bits, and then we will go into a bit more detail. But I mean, you appeared in a film alongside Sarah Lancashire
I
called
did.
Seeing Red. You've appeared in Coronation Street a few times
Mm-hmm.
because you played a character who was a child abducting friend of Claire Peacock. So we
Yeah,
will
well,
ask a,
that crazy thing. Yeah,
we
okay.
will ask a little bit more about that. Plus,
Okay.
also, you were in. So you've done pretty much most of the soaps because you were also in EastEnders back in
Yeah,
2009. You
yeah.
played a police officer who discovered the corpse of Trisha Johnson.
You've got a
So,
better memory than me, yes.
so many amazing things. I mean, obviously, The Bill, A Touch of Frost, Casualty,
Yeah,
Doctors. You've done it all.
yeah.
Obviously, of course, we will be talking about Emmerdale, which is your. That I think that's safe to say you're home now. That's where you
Well,
happy.
you can never be complacent, but I absolutely love it. I did an interview earlier today, and I said, and I've said it a million times, if they gave me a contract to sign right now for 20 years, I'd literally snatch the pen out of their hands. I love it. I love it. It's a cliche, but it's such a big happy family there.
Now I say we will talk about that, but I always love to go back and find out kind of where your career started. I mean, for you, what are your earliest memories of knowing that acting, performing was what you wanted to do? Can you remember when? Can you pinpoint it?
Well, again, I was talking about this earlier, bizarrely. I was a really shy child, so and there's no history of anybody going to university, let alone being an actor in my family. So I think when I did eventually turn around at 19 and say I'm going to go, I think my parents were like, "What? Where have you come from?" And I just had, like a lot of people, a brilliant teacher. I'm going to name her Helen Jamison. She's no longer with us, sadly, but we were good pals up until she passed away about 10 years ago. But she was inspirational, and she made me and my fellow contemporaries realize that anything is possible. That's a rare quality. It really is. And I've her to thank for it, really. And she didn't just encourage me, she made me join the local amateur dramatic society, which was a brilliant training ground. And I learned all sides of acting. I learned to be backstage and to be prompt and to do costume. It was about mucking in and doing everything. And then gradually I sort of was aware that I was getting bigger and bigger parts. Maybe I was the only one in that gene pool, that the young girl. But anyway, it gave me confidence. And then eventually, a few of my contemporaries from there and from school had gone, "Oh, I'm going to drama school." And I was like, "Oh, I just didn't really think it was a viable option." So I was actually 21 by the time I went. I don't think I'd have survived it at 18. It was a bit of a moment, I suppose, just going, "Oh, anything is possible." And Helen had such a big part of that, really. She played a massive part in it.
And I mean, do you remember the first time being on a stage, that kind of feeling? I mean, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I'd had taken drama at GCSE, but it's not quite the same. But really, my first memory, we did. I'm not a singer, but we did a production, a musical of Jack the Ripper. This was an amateur thing, and I just loved the camaraderie. I loved being part of something. I loved being just being included and being part of this merry band. And I wasn't particularly good in it. I can't sing, but I felt important and I felt like I belonged. And yeah, something clicked. And I guess my confidence sort of gradually grew. I mean, most actors don't have much confidence. I'm still waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder and say, sorry, we've made a terrible mistake. Would you pack your bags and leave, please? But that said, yeah, that feeling of belonging, there's nothing like it.
I mean, I've spoken to quite a few actors in the past who say that in real life they're quite shy individuals, quite sort of not one for kind of putting themselves forward. Whereas when they're playing a character, it's like you put a shield of armor on and you become a completely different person, and you suddenly get confident. Would you say that's sort of true for you?
100%. And it's not you, it's not your words. And the amount of times Jeff and I talk about this all the time about being asked to get up and make a speech. That's horrific. I'm not a raconteur. I'm not somebody who just it naturally comes to. I'll do it when push comes to shove, but I'm terrified. But if you give me somebody else's words and somebody else's direction on that, then I feel like that's where my happy place is, and that's where I feel at home. So yeah, but yeah, I don't seek the limelight, I wouldn't say.
Now, like we've said earlier, you've played many different roles in the past. Let's talk a little bit about getting to work on Coronation Street, because you've done that a few times. I mean, what is that like when, obviously, Coronation Street is an iconic street, similar to Emmerdale Village, similar to Albert Square in EastEnders. What was
Yeah.
that like stepping foot onto that, that street for the first time?
Well, again, terrifying because it literally came straight off the back of doing Cold Feet, and I still was just literally like, what am I doing? But you're absolutely right, Matthew. There's something about and Emmerdale has it, and EastEnders has it. There's something like seeing that view at Emmerdale, seeing the square, in Albert Square, the Albert Square in EastEnders, and seeing the cobbles at Coronation Street. I mean, it blows your head off. This is the sort of stuff I watched at home as a kid in East London. It doesn't quite make sense. It feels like an out of body experience, a brilliant one. But yeah, it's wild. I was just a ball of nerves, but everybody was lovely. Both times I worked at Corrie, actually, I had a brilliant time.
I mean, the thing we are finding nowadays as well is that the great thing with, soaps and everything, I mean, I've said it before, they produce amazing talent, but we're also seeing now that the soap worlds are kind of colliding. We
Yeah,
obviously know about Coronation Street and Emmerdale. Obviously, I know we can't talk too much about it because don't want to spoil it for people, but we also saw Hollyoaks team up with Brookside, which
yeah.
was fantastic. I mean, do you think this is something going forward that we could see more of, soaps merging and mixing and all that?
Well, Jeff and I have talked about that. We did wonder if this was like a dipping of the toe in the water. I don't know. But I do think the Cold Corridor thing is going to be massively successful. I'm not in the app, but I know what happens. And I've seen some of the script because obviously Jeff's in it. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. And it's really exciting. I mean, I would love to think that there might be more of it. I then think, oh my God, does that mean some of us are going to lose our jobs? So I don't know what I wish for. I just wish um, that Emmerdale keeps going for a very long time. That's what I wish.
I mean, I say Emmerdale going from strength to strength, and your journey onto the show was quite sort of a strange one because you don't really get it that often. Where you're on the show for a year back in the early 2000s as a guest role, and
Mm,
then fast forward 8 9 years, you come
yeah.
back as a regular because that I
Yeah.
don't think that really happens often. So
Well,
talk
it's
us through
even
that.
weirder than that. I actually came in for 6 episodes in 2001 as a bit of flirty material for Marlon, who was having trouble with Trisha, and we had a fling, and that was it. And then I left. A really random thing happened. I was doing Pygmalion, playing Eliza Doolittle at the Library Theatre in Manchester, having an absolutely brilliant time. And this guy approached me in the bar afterwards and said, "Oh, I love the show." I was like, "Oh, amazing, thank you." And he went, "Oh, I'm writing for you at the moment." And I went, "Sorry, you're what?" And he went, "Oh, I'm one of the Emmerdale writers." And I went, "Well, I came in for 6 sets." And he went, "Yeah, they're bringing you back." Well, they hadn't deigned to tell me that. So I rang my agent the next day, and my agent was like, "Oh, no, darling, I've not heard this." Rang up Sue Jackson, who was then head of casting, and she went, "Oh, yeah, they'd like to bring her back." So I went back in 2002 for a year. And then it just sort of came to a natural conclusion, and that was it. Went off, had mine and Jeff's kids, did loads of plays, did loads of other telly, not thinking anything of it. And then actually, it was my second role in Corrie. a character called Casey Carswell, baby snatching Casey, and Gavin Blythe, who was a brilliant producer, and who is sadly no longer with us. He was an assistant producer at the time on Corrie while I was there, and we got chatting, and that was it really. I left, had our second child, and then about a year later, he was now producing this at this point over at Emmerdale, and he said to Jeff, "Oh, what's Zoe up to? I think she'd be interested in coming back." And that's it. That's how it happened. So it was a bit of a case of not what you know, but who you know at that point. So yes, it's a bit of a weird one. It's sort of a yo-yoing thing. So I started in 2001, but officially really came back properly in, I think it was 2010. So yeah, madness, eh?
Had you ever imagined when
No.
you know, originally left back in 2002 that you would come back? No?
No, of all the characters I played in my career on stage and on television, I never ever thought that Rhona would be the one that I would revisit. I've got to be honest, because I didn't think there was anything that exciting about her. But actually, I think that's probably part of her charm, is that she just is very girl next door. But I've been given some very brilliant storylines over the years, and I credit Gavin with the one that brought me back, actually, which was having Leo and this sort of love triangle with Paddy and Marlon and Rhona. It's been a gift, actually, a real gift.
And I mean, the cast of Emmerdale are fantastic. I mean, you must love the people you get to work with. I mean, obviously you're married to one as well, but it
Yeah.
must be amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, the biggest joy, well, I can't say the biggest because everybody's a joy, but the biggest gift so far or recently has been Louise Jameson, who, I mean, I was beside myself meeting her for the audition. I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, it's Rosa DeMarco. I mean, depending on your age. And also, of course, I remember her in Bergerac. I don't quite remember Tenko. I wasn't allowed to watch it. My parents, I think, just wanted me and my brother in bed so they could enjoy it themselves. But I mean, she's such an icon, and everybody, you know, is a bit in awe of her at work, not only because she's brilliant and extremely beautiful, but because it's Louise Jameson. You're like, oh my God. And in a bizarre twist of fate, she knew my drama teacher, Helen Jamison. How mad is that? Because we're from the
Crazy.
same area. Her parents were friends with her. It's all very weird and interconnected, and it was sort of meant to be. But yeah, I mean, Mark and Amelia and Michelle and Dominic, I get to work with some incredible people, and have done people that have gone as well. You know, Meg, who played Pearl. It's such a boring cliche because there's no fun, I suppose, in happiness, no drama in happiness, but we all get on really well. And I've got as many friends behind the camera as I have in front of, and it's a dream. It really is. It's a dream job. I know, cliche,
I,
boring.
I think you can really tell when a cast and a team of people work well, because what you see on screen really translates and you get amazing drama, which is what especially British soaps are so good at doing. And I mean, it annoys me when
Yeah,
people put them down, because I think some of the best actors, producers,
yeah.
directors that you know this country produces.
It's really interesting, actually. I think you're right. I think there has been, particularly, you know, through the years, a bit of snobbery around soap. I'll tell you now, I've learned more doing this job than I've learned on any other job or at any drama school. And I think people are surprised. We've had some big name actors come in, and they can't, it's not that they can't do it. Of course they can do it, but they can't, it's the speed. And I think that's the skill, is or making a bad, not a bad script, but a repetitive script work. The nature of how quickly we have to learn is a skill set in itself. You know, on stage you learn to perform, to perform, to perform. What I'm doing is learning to perform, to forget, to learn to perform, to forget on a very quick turnover. You know, we can do a scene and they go, that's brilliant, we've got that one, moving on. And then you're in your head, you moved on to the next scene, and they go, oh, sorry, we just got to pick up that last scene. And I'm like, hang on, I've already deleted from my brain that scene, because that's how quickly we work, and that's quite hard to keep up. And sometimes also the way soap is written, there's a lot of repetitive stuff, so we'll execute 6 episodes a week, going down to 5 in January, and you'll do episodes that you're repeating yourself a lot, and that's to mop up for people that don't watch every episode. And there's a skill in making that look easy and making that look like it's the first time you said it, or you're saying it a slightly different way. And I think people are often brought up short by how it's hard work. You earn your money basically, but I love it.
I mean, the other amazing thing with soap, and I talked to when I was talking to Natalie J. Robb, we discussed this about the fact that you get to, and it's very rare you get to do this, you get to see a character's progression and you can tell a story and it can just keep going. And
Yeah.
you can really invest in characters and develop them and change them. And whereas quite often, if you're doing a play or a TV series, there's not really much wiggle room because you're limited to your run, really.
Yeah, it's unlike anything else, you know. I mean, and the flip side of that is that they can throw stuff at you that you're not expecting. You know, when you accept a play or a drama, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know what's expected of you. You know what they're going to throw at you, and you take on that job knowing that. Soap is you know, it's a different beast altogether, and that's quite exciting, but it's also quite terrifying. You know, they might throw something at you you're really uncomfortable with. I had to, I mean, God forbid, I hope my kids never see it. I was worried my grandma might watch it. I had to film what the beginnings of a sex tape with Pierce, with and the most gorgeous man, Johnny Rather. So it wasn't a bother, but I didn't sleep a wink for about a month before we shot that, just going, this is hell. I can't think of anything. They made it very easy and it was a closed set and all of that. But this is what I mean. Stuff will get thrown up at you and you'll read it and go, what? Oh my God, I've got to do that, you know. It could be anything, but that's the joy of it as well, is you never quite know. It never gets boring. You never know where it's going.
Are there ever times where you've gone, oh, I think this is a bit too far, or do you just trust the writers? You know what they know what they're doing.
I trust the writers, but I also think Shirley Stelfox, God rest that woman's soul, I loved her, who, for those who don't know her, played Edna Birch for many years, always said, you know, particularly when you get past 5-10 years of being in a soap, no one knows that character better than you, Zoe. So if you read something and it doesn't ring true, or you read something and you go, factually, that's not correct, she said, don't underestimate the audience. They remember. You know, I'll be writing in, dear points of view, actually, Rhona didn't do that on that date, you know. And have I ever been up? No, not really. Only ever, I always say to the producers, I can play anything you want me to play as long as I understand it. So if ever I've been up, and I think it's only once in 15 years, I wanted to understand why they wanted to do a storyline. And it was lovely. Ian McLeod actually explained it. And I went, okay. And he went, that's it. And I went, yeah. I just needed to understand where you were coming from, because anything's possible as long as it's explained to me. I need it to make sense. I need it to be truthful. That's all.
Now, you've done so many amazing storylines, but for you, is there one that you're proudest of or that sticks in your mind as a personal favorite? I mean, I know there's probably so many to choose from, but
Yeah,
is there?
I've been so lucky, Matthew. I can't. I loved the storyline that I came in on, which was the love triangle, and then the birth of Leo. I thought that was pretty clever, and having a child with Down syndrome was, you know, pretty groundbreaking at the time to tell that sort of story. I mean, that is going back 15 years now, and I loved that. I loved Rhona's drug addiction storyline, and I got to work very closely with Michelle and Dom, who are two of my dear friends, and I enjoyed that. And I really loved, I thought Mark was brilliant in the stroke storyline, and it was brilliant to be part of that. You know, there's been so much. And this current storyline, the County Lines one, which is tricky to watch, but that's the joy of soap. We reflect real life, and it's an important story. So they're all my favourites. They're all my favourites, I'm allowed to say. Yeah.
Is there anyone on the show that you haven't really had chance to work with that you would love to do something with going forward? Because obviously soaps have big casts. You're never going to get to work with everyone regularly. Yeah. So is there anyone you'd love to work with?
I mean, I've worked with all of the people I love anyway. I get to work increasingly more with Charlotte Bellamy, which fills my heart with joy. One of my other very close friends is Emma Atkins, who I think is a comedy genius, and I think she's a brilliant actress, and I only ever do the tiniest amount. So if you could give me a storyline with Emma Atkins, I'd be very happy.
And I mean, if you were to meet your character in real life, could you imagine being friends? I love asking this question, but
yeah,
could you imagine being friends?
Before. I mean, she's fun. I think I'd like to take her shopping and sort her wardrobe out. I think that would be key for me. I don't know if we'd be friends. We're very, very different. But I think we get on. I think I could have a pint in the pub with her. Do you know what I mean? But then we might bore each other a bit after that. Although I do love animals. And that's been absolutely the perk of this job, is that we get to hang out with a lot of animals. I mean, there's just no more joyous thing for me. So, yeah, we'd probably get...
I mean, you're so lucky because, you know, you get to feel, and unlike a lot of other soaps, you get all that countryside. It's quite impressive. I mean, do you ever have to pinch yourself that you're there?
constantly, absolutely. I mean, pinching myself to try and keep warm in January and February in that climate. Let me tell you, I'm a southerner through and through when it comes to the winter months. But yeah, it's an absolute joy. That I mean, the star of our show, I think, is the landscape. And anybody that tries to fight against that or deny that or not accept that is bonkers. It's so beautiful. And on days like that, I mean, at the moment it's stunning. It's stunning in every season actually, but in autumn it's particularly beautiful. And I do think Rhona has the best house because I'm on the hill and I won't flood, let's be honest, if there's ever a natural disaster, but also I have a view that is unrivaled. I love it.
I mean, fantastic. I mean, obviously, we touched upon it earlier, but I imagine if you could stay for as long as possible, you would love that. I mean, when you get a role like that, it must be because you can get jobs and they come and go, but when you're on a soap and you get that longevity, that must be a real treat and an honor because the fans love you, the show is just loving what you're doing. That must be amazing.
Yeah, it is, but there's no room for complacency now more than ever, actually. So people are often surprised to discover that we're all on yearly contracts. That's it, and Jeff and I are coming towards the end of our contract and we're like, what's going to happen now? So we do get nervous, but I think that's as a result of how much we love it, and how much we'd love to stay because we feel it's so much a part of our lives, So, yeah, it's an absolute honor. I mean, I say lucky. I feel very lucky to have lasted, 15, nearly 16 years. That's coming back. It's 23 years. Gosh, oh my God. 24 years since my first episode. But I think with that longevity comes hard work as well. It's definitely luck because you can work as hard as you like and a producer comes along and goes, nope, don't like Rhona, get rid of her, But yeah, it's hard work as well. But yeah, I mean, best job in the world.
Now, obviously, no spoilers, but is there a dream sort of storyline going forward? Something you would love to see Rhona come up against? Or, I mean, what would you love to see for the future of her on the show?
God, more of what I've had. I mean, I feel like a bit greedy saying that because I've had more than my fair share. I'm very aware that, I've been front and centre on my own a few times, and I've definitely been a supporting artist for so many of my brilliant colleagues. More of the same will do me just fine, Matthew. I don't want to be greedy.
Now, we are obviously broadcasting to the patients of the Royal Berkshire Hospital here in Reading, and obviously had to ask your thoughts on the NHS and the amazing staff that work tirelessly, not just in this hospital, but any hospital sort of around the country. What messages would you want to send to them, really?
Just a massive thank you. Like so many people, I have so many reasons to thank them. They've looked after so many of my family members, of Jeff's family members. The reality is I would have been joining you in the ranks as a nurse if I wasn't absolutely terrified of blood. I ruined myself. That's the only reason I'm an actor, because actually, I mean, what a calling to be a nurse, and I kind of had designs on it, but yeah, my fear of blood let me down. But thank you everybody who works tirelessly, and we all know how hard everybody works. We are greater for having the NHS, and long may she live.
And of course, to any of the patients who are currently stuck in hospital, maybe not having the best of times, what would you like to say to them?
I'd say, listen, hang on in there. It's all going to be good. And wishing everybody a speedy recovery.
They obviously, of course, have to keep watching Emmerdale
Yes.
because it's getting so good at the moment. But
Uh,
I just have to say, Zoe, it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure. Thank you for giving up your time to speak to me, and you are welcome back anytime.
oh, Matthew, thank you so much. It was great to finally, we've been trying to hook up for some time, haven't we, to finally have this chat. Thank you so much.